Are we having fun?
Yes.
All right, guys. Here we go. You are listening to Square Biz Podcast, official podcast of Florin Square, Sacramento's Black Wall Street, located at 2251 Florin Road, right here in the heart of South Sacramento. And I am Aaron Boyce. I'm not Aaron Boyce. I am Aaron Boyce, your host. All right, that's who I am. And in case you haven't noticed, we're supposed to have Robin Rose Hamer, but she's not here yet. She's a very busy person, so I may be flying solo today, but I'm okay. I got the wonderful and fantastic Kelly Love here, and I know that if I say Kelly will you step in, she will step in because she got skills.
Point blank.
All right. So I have a great show. I'm very excited about the show. You know, what we do here at Florin Square is we help dreams come true, and we help dreams come true. Those dreams being entrepreneurial dreams, and people come into our building knowing that we're going to be so supportive to them in what it is that they try to do, which is, of course, success. Now, before I introduce my two guests, I want to let you folks know that for the first time on the Florin Square podcast, we have the owner of Florin Square, Mr. Tom Donaldson, who is too handsome to be shown. However, when you get the latest issue of Square Biz, the magazine, his handsome face will be on the cover with a wonderful story inside. But in the meantime, while you wait, Mr. Tom Donaldson, would you like to say hello, please?
Aaron, it's a pleasure being with you and your panelists, and I will enjoy the show immensely.
Good. And before you enjoy the show immensely, I'm gonna put you to work. I want you to say in 30 seconds or so, maybe knowing you a little bit longer, but just tell us what you think our listeners need to know about Florin Square.
Florin Square is a collective of hardworking, diligent, praying, family people who have one goal in mind, that is to help each other prosper. We are united behind Aaron's effort to bring more visibility to our building. That's one thing we've always lacked, the outreach to the community to let them know that we are alive and well, and we're here to support them in many ways, whether it's with the church or it's with the nonprofits or with our retail areas. So we are really, I've owned the building for over 13 years, but really we're at our infancy in terms of what we're going to finally accomplish. So Aaron, I think it's wonderful that we have a chance to express it. And I look forward to listening to the rest of your show.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. And in fact, I am in front of a picture of Florin Square, the building, again, 2251 Florin Road in South Sacramento. What we're excited about, and you're going to hear me say this time and time again, we have a museum, the Sojourner Truth African Heritage Museum, which is one of five museums in Northern California that celebrate Black history and the African experience. One is in Oakland, two on San Francisco, One is in Fresno, and then there's us. And so we recently expanded the museum, and in fact, that's phase one. Phase two is coming up, but phase one, we have a grand opening on March 20th, and I'm inviting all of my listeners to attend this grand opening. Now, the interesting thing is, we had a soft opening a few weeks ago, but not everything was in place. So when you come back, you're going to see more things, more exciting things, more historical art and artifacts. So um, I'm very excited about that. Okay. Wow, this is great. We have Sacramento Business Development Corporation, two of its stars right here on our podcast, Mr. Pavan Sandhu, and the one and the only, and I can say that because it's true, Mr. Dan Casas-Murray. And I was blessed enough to meet him before the pandemic, right? So this is pre-pandemic. And we were planning on doing all kinds of great and wonderful things at Florin Square, and they had to be postponed. And you also said to grace not only the tenants but also the community with all sorts of wonderful information. And I'm hoping that you can do that this evening. So, Mr. Dan, can you just share with me, well, first of all, tell us what is the SBDC, how does it help the community, and what is your role in it?
Yeah, I can. Well, hello everyone. I'm Dan, and I wanna thank you, Aaron, for asking me to participate in the show tonight. And Mr. Donaldson, I wanna say how much I admire you for your efforts and what you're doing to build community, especially when we're talking about economic development, empowering economic development. That's big. That's really big. I admire that, and I'm just thrilled to be able to participate in this right now. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm Dan, and I'm an advisor at the Small Business Development Center in Sacramento for the Capital Region, along with my colleague Pavan. And what the Small Business Development Center does is it's an implementation partner of the Small Business Administration. So when we talk about like SBA loans, SBA stuff, right? The SBDC is basically what we do is we carry out some of the field work that the SBA needs to do. And that takes the form of one-on-one counseling for your business, for you and your business. It also takes form of workshops and trainings that we do in the area of business and business development. And we also help folks. In fact, this is one of Pavan's specialties, is doing loan and loan readiness stuff. So the thing about the SBDC is it's federally funded, which means that any of our services are free for you. And when I say free, I mean it's prepaid with your tax dollars. So it makes it an easy sell. Really what we're all about is economic development. We're about helping small businesses become successful. And that's how we do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you mentioned Pavan, and he's here. I guess as our grant and loan specialist, everybody loves him because he talks about money, right? Yeah. And so, Mr. Rockstar, can you share with us your role specifically in SBDC?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me on, Aaron. So I come from a finance background. I've been working with money since I was probably 15 or 16 years old when I started working at a credit union. So I have a long-standing relationship in the finance world. And what my expertise in the SBDC world is helping small business owners find and source capital. To take things a little bit further than what Dan said is, I like to explain to my clients, The SBA has one job. It's to promote small business growth in America. They do it two ways. They offer SBA loans, and they have the field work, like Dan mentioned. Now, during the pandemic, there's been several resources, grants, fundings, different programs available to small business owners. There's a lot of help and there's a lot of resources out there. But one of the biggest problems that I see in the small business world, especially in different communities and people maybe not in the traditional spaces that have access to these resources, is they don't know about all the different programs on there that are out there. They're confusing. There's a lot of different ways to dissect what's going on in the world right now. And I'm happy I'm able to share some of my expertise. I've been working in small business and commercial lending, helping small business owners and investors obtain source capital from as little as $5,000 or $10,000 all the way up to several $1 million commercial real estate buildings. So I'm severely and incredibly, I guess, experienced in money and finance. And I love to be able to help and give back. And I'm excited Dan brought me on and introduced me. From what I may have heard, guys might have some open spaces out there. I have actually a client that I think would fit perfectly in here. It's pretty crazy. I guess they call it serendipity. Okay. So I think that this is awesome. And excited to be on. And I could talk all day, but yeah, excited to be on, guys.
So do me a favor and place in chat who that person is, and I'll be sure to contact him or her. Okay.
Absolutely.
But one thing that I want to speak for all of the folk at Florin Square, and I may be speaking for Miss Love as well, as to the confusion of the enormity of different loans and grant opportunities, and it seems to be all coming together. There's state, and there's federal, and there's local, and then there's the PPP and PPE and PPA, and then there's EIDL, and then there's EIDL advanced, and then there's COVID relief, and it says you got to do it now. Oh no, you got a March deadline. Oh no, you got a today deadline. And I mean, really, it's hard to keep up with all of the so-called assistance that's coming our way. And I might add, when I ask my tenants who have applied how many of them have received anything, the numbers are very and abysmally low. Can you address that, please? Because again, I'm confused.
I think, Aaron, where you started it is really where it's important to understand it. It's kind of three kind of levels and ways to look at it. It's, hey, there's the federal level, there's been some state level, and maybe a few, depending on where you are, local and private level loan programs out there, right? There's some big companies, there's different resources, there's people putting out money. I mean, FedEx has a $50,000 loan opportunity, grant opportunity right now as well. So, I mean, Facebook, small, different businesses, depending on where you are, there's like those smaller micro grants. But where most people are focused, and Aaron, what it sounds like, maybe some of your guys business owners there may have not had success in is some of the main programs out there. The first one was the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Yes, this is a loan as opposed to the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, which now recently has a second round of funding that has come out. But one way to look at it, Aaron, is throughout the process, the SBA has probably done like 5 or 6 years of loans in that many months, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot that they're taking on. So, there's trial and error. There's humans involved. Everything is not perfect. And what we try to do here at the SBDC is help clients one-on-one. Everybody has a unique situation and way to dissect it. And, that's all I can really say in terms of not getting approved or declined. One thing I will say about the California Relief Grant, which more recently most people have been frustrated over, which is an amazing grant opportunity where they're giving away some funding, is there's been several rounds. There's been 1 round, 2 round. I'm not sure when this podcast is coming out, but there's going to be a third, fourth, and fifth round probably coming. So there's more funding coming. Less than, I would say, 5 or 10% of the people that applied got these grants. California has a lot of small business owners. The lifeblood of our economy here is small business. So there was a lot of applicants, and technology platform crashed, a lot of stuff in the way, there's a bunch of excuses, a bunch of ways you want to look at it, right? It's just how you look at it, how you have your perspective. But if you're willing to try and put forth some effort, you might be able to get some funding. Right before I jumped on this podcast, I read the most recent interim financial rule. So it's called an IFR. So what happens is the SBA has released these different IFRs throughout the process. So what that means is the rules have changed so many times, and they'll continue to change. They're trying to make it easier, simpler, and the process is not perfect, right? Like I said, they made these brand new loan programs. They're trying to figure out all these decisions. Who's to say that the government makes every decision correctly and when they have to do it quickly?
What does the I stand for?
Excuse me?
What does the I stand for in the IFR?
Interim financial rule, INTERM, interim.
Right,
so,
right.
So they're just stopping and putting different rules, and they're changing it up for people. But the latest rule, excuse me, let me finish back to that story. The latest rule states, this is how bad, oh man, this is how bad the government wants to help small business owners. They want to, right? They're just not perfect at it. But this latest rule states that a lender does not need to verify the provided payroll information. Just came out March 3rd. March 3rd just came out. So what does this mean? Most people, when they're applying for this new PPP loan, right? They're trying to apply. Most business owners don't necessarily show a lot of profit. Oh, this is a free game right here. I hope everybody's listening. This is some free game, Dan. I'm not playing.
Okay.
This came out, right? So if you look at your tax return in 2019 and you perhaps did not qualify, because most business owners, like I said, they're not showing, necessarily a large or any great deal of profit. But what this new IFR and what the new rules change is, for most people who are Schedule C, showing a Schedule C income, instead of using the traditional line 31, people are able to use their line 7. So what's that mean is less of your write-offs are counted. There's more opportunities to change it. And let's say if your tax return did not appropriately and you need to talk to your tax person, or you need to reassess your personal situation and you don't necessarily qualify with how things are in this point, maybe you consider an amendment to your tax returns. Is it worth it? There's a lot of different ways to dissect it. Every situation's unique. But again, Dan and Aaron, I'll go back to that. There's several options. SBA has a list and a great deal of qualified consultants that are ready and here to help folks that are in need. So Aaron, please reach out, connect with us, me, Dan. We'd love to be able to support and see how we can analyze each situation. Because even this whole EIDL reconsideration process, okay, which is basically when people applied early, maybe they did not qualify, maybe they entered something wrong, maybe the rules changed, in between, and you want to get your application reconsidered. It's a bit of a process, and we do that and a handful of different things to help our small business owners.
I got a quick question for you. Mm-hmm. Are there banks or credit unions that seem to be more proactive in supporting lenders, or are there some banks that seem to be better at it? Or you got Chase and Wells Fargo and B of A. Are there some that sort of always seem to get things done, or some that never seem to get things done?
I guess another way, Tom, to look at it, I would say is nowadays there's a lot of new lenders, there's a lot of fintech money, there's a lot of money available, and there's a lot of different lenders, banks that you don't necessarily need to have a prior relationship with to qualify for the PPP loan. Because again, the EIDL is done directly through the SBA, so you would not apply for the EIDL through a lender, but you would for the PPP loan. So I hope that answers the question, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so, Kelly, you being one of the tenants at Florin Square, I consider you also to be a very astute business person, right? So when you hear this, does this ease your mind or cause greater friction? How do you feel when you hear Mr. Sandhu explain?
It definitely eases my mind. I'm so excited that I replied to your text, Mr. Boyce, because it lets us know what is available. The thing he said was there's information, there's loans available, but people don't know. And then, so, we all say knowledge is power. If you don't know, how can you apply? So I think this information that's being presented tonight is really going to send a lot of people your way, Dan, send a lot of people your way, Mr. Sandhu. I know I'm coming both of your ways. Trust me, I said, I'm writing Dan's name down. I'm writing his name down because, again, I'll say, like, for myself, you can have a goal in mind, things you want to achieve, but sometimes there's no blueprint, right? And so you're mapping it as you go, step by step. And so this is definitely great information. It's definitely going to put at ease to a lot of people's minds.
Good. And I'm glad about that. Dan, this is why we are here, right? Right? To ease people's minds. And I know that you don't handle the money part, but you handle the business development part. You would probably agree that money is not why a business fails, money or the lack of it. It's probably, why don't you tell me? Why is it that most businesses fail in your estimation?
All right. Well, first of all, I just have to say that I'm just some dude with a ponytail, if you don't notice. Some dude with a ponytail and an opinion and some experience, right? So I just want to let you know that up front. Before I get into that really quick, if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me.
Go on, please.
I'm always wanting to know about things that we can do. Like, it seems to me that, like, what Kelly was saying about information, knowledge being power. And you said earlier, Aaron, that there was a lot of confusion, and Pavan was talking about, well, there is a lot of information and a lot of it changes on the fly. So I'm an educator, or at least that's one of the roles that I'm in. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I would really love to explore a little bit. And if not now, then later is fine. But part of educating is understanding, where the knowledge gaps are, and understanding, what problems people are having accessing that information, and then how that makes them feel when they have those problems.
Right.
And then crafting that information in a way that actually, like, resonates with people. And so I'm really interested to hear about that. Like, I can totally understand with all these things coming out, like you said, like alphabet soup, right? EIDL, PPP, PPE, PPA, PP, whatever, right? Like, what are all the programs? And then you also say, well, what's this, like, how do we actually think about this, right? Because there's federal and there's state and there's city and all those other things. So I'm very interested in pursuing some understanding of what the information flow problem is.
Well, you mentioned that, and I would love to have some sort of, I hesitate to call it a task force, but a group of professionals like Mr. Sandhu and you, Dan, along with other folks from different agencies to actually talk about what the difficulties are, and then talk about how to fix them. And I think that would be a wonderful service that could indeed be provided, because these deadlines are coming up. I know based upon uh, um, reading the last thing that was sent to me, and Pavan, you were saying about how um, you got oh, I forgot the word, the name of it, but you said um, 1, 2, 3, and now we're at like 3, 4, and 5. Um, um, but um, um, section. It's not section. I got it. I'm having a brain melt here. Uh, um, wow.
I believe you're referring to the California Relief Grant where they had a
Yeah.
first and a second round, and
Yes.
now
Yes.
there's
There it
going to
is.
be
Thank you. Thank
another
you.
third and fourth, possibly fifth round coming.
Well. What I read based upon what was sent to me was that whatever round is coming up is only for those who have already previously applied. This is not for new applicants. This is for those who already previously applied, and they're going to revisit it. And then like round 4 or 5 is going to be for nonprofits. So I didn't see anywhere in 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 the um, information regarding this saying that those who have not applied can now apply, because here's the time. It seems like they've been uh, um, X'd out. I could be wrong. If I am, please tell me.
You are wrong, sir.
Yes.
Um, I think it's illegal to tell people you can't apply for a loan, right?
Okay.
So anybody can apply. You can apply, but Aaron, yes, there's people on the wait list. There's people waiting on the wait list. There's people been waiting on the wait list.
Mhm.
So you could think about it. You can apply, and you probably end up, further down on the list. I guess it's a way to look at it. But it's I guess it's worth a shot. Maybe it's not worth your time. I'm not sure, but it doesn't necessarily hurt to put in an application. That's all I can really say. Like I said before, the numbers, not everybody's getting approved, not everybody's getting the loan, but even at some point, the people that are selected and maybe taken off the wait list and approved, there's not a high possibility, but a possibility that once they review their documents and once they really look at their application, once they're selected, that maybe they actually don't qualify, and then they might and have before pull another group of people off the wait list. So I mean, it just depends how you want to look at it. I mean, that's all I can really say is, yes, you can apply in the programs out there. It's like I said, they're not going to say you can't apply. Maybe the chances aren't great, but it's worth a shot for most people to apply. It's essentially free money at some point. Tools and resources available to help you grow your business, keep your business, maybe maintain. Things are lifting. The world's kind of changing. It's like I said, it's not perfect, but there's some tools and resources out there. And the nice thing is there's some great companies, big companies, but, also maybe, some small people, some people doing some really good things that are available to help people during this pandemic, right? It's not all about money, but yeah.
So do you know the definition of entrepreneur?
Everybody may have their own definition.
I know,
but,
and I say that tongue in cheek, because what I want to say is one of the definitions of an entrepreneur is someone who is crazy enough to think that they're going to be able to make it on their own, and leave the job out of their life. Now, that's just one of the definitions of entrepreneur. I say that because we are also a people with great belief in our future, and and we don't mind applying for things if they think is that that is going to be helpful to them. However, entrepreneurs also are practical people, and they want to do things that make sense, and it does not make sense, as you know, to do the same thing again and again and again and expect the same results when you didn't get the good results the first time. So I know with me as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for that thing that's going to push me towards success that other people who may not have been in the room won't get. Now, you've already shared some stuff with us, and I thank you for that. But what I want to know, and what Kelly wants to know, and what Tom wants to know, and what our listeners want to know is there anything that we can do that's legal, honest, and ethical, but anything that we can do to get us quickly to maybe not the top of the line, but to stop us from making the same mistakes that other people may be making? We don't want to make mistakes if we don't have to. What can you share with us? What can you share with Miss Kelly that's going to not have her make the same mistakes that other people who are listening to us are going to make?
Can I say one quick thing? I don't have maybe some of the tips and tricks that Pavan might have, but one of the things that I'm really interested in is having another conversation after this to see what we can do about, like, at least pushing some information to the tenants at Florin Square.
I would like to do that, but do not let Mr. Sandhu off the hook. So we are ready, sir.
With that, I'll yield.
Kelly's going to rephrase the question.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny that he also makes mention of that, and Dan as well, because I was thinking, like, maybe there's a form with a checklist that we can provide to each tenant, and the tenant puts their business, their goals, where they're lacking, what they're trying to achieve. And then, that information is presented to you, Mr. Sandhu, and you, Dan. So you kind of have an understanding where each, the areas of gray are, the areas of growth are, to help them. Again, I think education or the knowledge is what's missing, and a lot of people find out through trial and error. And so I think once they have the necessary information, and not just have the information, but have an understanding of the information being provided to them, that's going to help them to be more successful.
Right, because you have to be able to apply it. And, I could tell people, hey, this is, the sky is blue because X, Y, and Z, right? But if it doesn't make sense, if it's not there on a personal level, then it doesn't really do anything except just fill the airwaves, right?
Right.
So I like that idea, Kelly, about doing sort of like a almost like a survey, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, to see, what I'm really interested in is asking folks, like, what is stopping you from applying? Like, what are the main challenges? Like, what's not being understood? Like, is it the scary government words? Because they're scary. They talk about all this stuff. Or is it?
Let's use me for an example, Dan. Okay. So I haven't applied for any loans, right? All of my business has been supplied through working overtime, right? Okay. And so you hear the stories of people coming under scrutiny for falsifying loan applications, or they told me, okay, Kelly, you don't have any employees at the moment, so you don't qualify for this, or you don't qualify for that. So I'm like, well, I'm still trying to get this business off the ground. So what am I eligible for besides working these long hours to try and fund a business?
Yeah.
So we're going to get to that and this, and we're waiting for Mr. Sandhu's answers. but we're going to take a little break right now, Come back in about 2 minutes. We want folks to know that you're listening to Square Biz Podcast, the official podcast of Florin Square, Sacramento's Black Wall Street at 2251 Florin Road, right here in South Sacramento. We're talking to two wonderful people from the Small Business Development Corporation. So stick around.
SBDC, Small Business Development Center.
You know something? Thank you very much. Okay. Small Business Development Center. I got to write that down. My name is Aaron Boyce, host of the Square Biz Podcast here at Florin Square, where culture meets business. We're at 2251 Florin Road in the heart of South Sacramento on 24th and Florin Road. Happens to be Sacramento's Black-owned Wall Street, 1% minority-owned, 85% Black-owned, 60% women-owned. So we're here for you. We're here for your success. We're here for your business. So come on in, check us out, and by all means, check out Square Biz Podcast, coming to you on all forms of social media. And we are back, and we are glad that you are back on the Florin Square Square Biz Podcast. You heard me say it. Official podcast of Florin Square, Sacramento's Black Wall Street. We are very excited of the fact that we are a little bit over 85% Black owned, 60% women owned, 100% minority owned, and even the owner himself, Mr. Tom Donaldson, just happens to be African American. So we are very proud of that. And that's been going on since 2003, I might add. I wanted to say again, please come to the official grand opening of the Susena Truth African Heritage Museum on March 20th. I believe it starts at noon, but I think it's like from noon to 5. I'm sure there will be music, and I know there will be art and artifacts, and I'm also sure that you guys are going to be amazed and you will love it, as everybody else is when they come and they get inspired when walking inside. I wanted to let people know about the Florin Square Community Development Corporation. We lovingly call it FSCDC. And this is our nonprofit that supports and assists the efforts to bring out the best in our community. And so we support and assist our tenants as well as other community-based organizations, as long as they are in what we call our beach. Yes, Pavan, we have a beach, okay? And that is business and economic development, education, arts and culture, community development, and health and wellness. So those are the areas of which we are going to work on in our community. And by the way, those are areas, Dan, that your organization absolutely can support financially and with the proper information and know-how. So yeah, it's one of the things that we do, and we've been doing for a long time, is to make sure that we get things done correctly. We want to get things done correctly because mistakes cost money, and no one has that time or that money to make these mistakes. And that's what the Florin Square Community Development Corporation is doing, making sure that our tenants don't make the mistakes and make sure that they work from a position of strength. So I am Aaron Boyce. I am your host. I am flying solo without Miss Robin Rose-Hamer, who texted me and said she's sorry. She got busy. And so I am here. I say I'm flying solo, but I'm not. I have the wonderful Miss Kelly Love and and she didn't know it, but she stepped up to the task. She is my unofficial co-host. Am I right, Miss Kelly Love?
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah. And by the way, I love her voice. I love her voice. It's so melodic. It really
Thank
is.
you.
It really is. And
I'm
Tom
just
Donaldson.
looking at her smile.
Okay, now, okay, Dan. But I agree.
Oh no, how is that okay?
Tom,
That's why he said that, Dan.
I missed something for sure.
you want to have you want to say a few words, Tom?
No, it looks like things are going along so fast. It's I'm enjoying it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, during the break, we were speaking about several things, and when we left, we talked about having some sort of survey, but then Ms. Love mentioned some things to Dan, and I want to recreate that conversation for you, our audience. So, if you guys can do that, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. So during the break, we were discussing and correct me if I'm wrong. Can you hear me, Dan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We were discussing, I believe it's called the NAISC or NIASC codes, and how it matters in regards to your application and the amount of money that you are or are not eligible for. So if you can go over that.
Oh yeah. So the NAICS code stands for North American Industry Classification System, I think, right? I feel like I got that right. Pavan's smiling at me. Cool, that was one thing. That's cool. So basically what it is just a way for the government to like kind of classify the industry that you're in. And so people call it the NAICS code, or they call it the NAICS code. But I think it's like a five digit number, something like that.
Yes, something like that. Yes.
Okay, so if you've heard about that, and you've heard about like different codes and that kind of stuff in terms of like, applying for monies and everything, here's the conversation that's kind of around. For the PPP, the second round of PPP, they said, well, if you have a NAICS code that starts with a 7.2, then you can actually apply for more money. Okay, so the way PPP works is you basically take this past time period of like last year, 2019 or 2020, depending on what your lender wants to see, right? And what you're doing is you're calculating your average monthly payroll. And with a normal PPP loan, what you're doing is you're taking that average monthly payroll and you're multiplying that by 2.5. And that's what you can apply for the loan, for the forgivable loan. Now, if you have a NAICS code that starts with 7.2, that means you're food retail. And with a NAICS code that starts with 7.2, then you can apply up to 3.5 times that average monthly payroll. So there is a difference. But it has to do with basically if you're a food retail business, then you can apply for more, versus if you're not, then it's the standard 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. Did I clarify?
And yet that's not in the application, correct? The only thing in the application is what type of business you have. Am I right about that or what?
That is a good question. I see Pavan shaking his head.
It takes that information into the application, so it's all accounted for.
Right, but what I'm saying is that the NAICS code, that's not, like no one is expected to know or put that down.
You mean like no one, like
on the application? Yeah, on the
like
application.
how do we know what our NAICS code is? Is that
what I'm saying is that 72 is food retail, but if I'm a food retailer and I'm applying for the PPP, I am not asked to put down my codes. I may not know my codes, but you guys are going to assign those codes based upon what I put down. Based upon the industry that I say I'm in, you guys are going to say, okay, that's code 72, right?
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was on the second PPP application.
The NICS, the NAICS code.
It's like this little sentence. It's like this little sentence, and maybe it's easy to miss, right?
Okay.
It says, I think it's in the so there's different blocks like on the form, right? And there's there's what the entire period was, and then there's the average monthly payroll, and then there's another thing where it says multiply by 2.5 or 3.5, and in that print it says if you're 7.2, multiply by 3.5 rather than 2.5. But
see, go on.
I just want to say, like, I do acknowledge. I mean, that you got to know what you're looking at. So I could see where that would be missed. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't know that, and I wasn't familiar with NAICS codes or anything like that, then I would be like, wait a minute,
right.
How do I know?
And clearly, the reason why I have you and Mr. Sandhu on from the Small Business Development Center is because you guys know a lot more about this stuff than I do, and that's what I got you guys on. Another question that came up from Tom Donaldson, and he was asking about credit and bankruptcy. Tom, can you ask them that question that you asked me, please?
Yeah, I was curious about the forgiveness of a low credit score or prior bankruptcy in terms of applying for the loan, and if the zip code in which your property is located in plays any part in whether you're successful in getting the loan or not.
When you say the loan, which one are you referencing, Tom?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm not smart enough to know whether it's a federal or a state or a city, but I do know when you start applying, some people make it and some people don't, and there must be some rule of thumb that the association or the organization is applying for the people who participate. And I was just curious if the location of your organization and the fact that you may or may not have a bankruptcy against you, or if you do get the loan, in the process of applying for the loan, does a credit score ever come into play?
Okay. So let me start with the zip code. In terms of the zip code, it doesn't necessarily make a difference what zip code you're in. Some zip codes, there was, the different requirements, like some places are in like disaster zones,
right.
And there was different interim financial rules and different periods where they only opened the EIDL program for them. So the zip code and location, I guess, can play a part, but typically the EIDL, it did not, in terms of a loan decision, in terms of when you could apply. They did have some changes in the interim financial. There was a little bit of back and forth. At one point, it was only for agricultural and et cetera, et cetera. There's been some changes, but location didn't necessarily make a difference in any loans, I would really say.
And how about credit history
touches the zip code. What's that, Aaron? So the next one was the bankruptcy. Yeah, right. Bankruptcy, credit score, kind of related. So the crazy thing is with these loans, not a lot of people are checking credit. For these PPP loans, no credit was checked. No credit. You could have had a BK within a matter of months. The lender wouldn't have known because it wasn't part of the process. As I mentioned earlier on the podcast, they're doing all these loans. It's super quick. So banks, lenders, they're not processing credit applications and things like that. So it's not considered, but so that's the PPP. So that's PPP, lender specific, right? EIDL loan. shift into that, there was a credit score requirement, but it was super low. And if I remember correctly, it was about 450.
Wow.
So, and at some point, if you were declined for a 450 credit score, theoretically, you would be so fortunate to run into one of our wonderful SBDC advisors, and we could walk you through the process of reconsideration. Because to change your credit score around, to work on some credit repair, we have several consultants, including myself, that can walk clients through on some tips and tricks and advise them and, help bring up that credit. But credits, depending on how you want to look at it, when I get on my soapbox, I tell people credit is just a big game. Just got to be able to play the game and manipulate the game. Mm-hmm. It's only important when you need it, right? Credit score. I mean, if you're not looking to apply for anything, does it really matter? Then we could get super philosophical, but it's all good.
So how about taxes? Do they meaning whomever, look to see if you are current in your taxes? How much does that matter?
If
current
the question
tax
is,
filing.
do you owe?
No.
If you owe or completed?
Have you filed? Yeah. So do they look and say, oh, he hasn't filed last year or he hasn't filed in 2 years? Does that matter?
So now we're in March 2021. Ideally, you have your 2019 tax return complete at minimum. Ideally that's complete. If it's not complete, it's hard for calculations to happen. But the most recent thing that we just said, right, when I looked over the interim financial rule, is at this point now, they're not requiring a lender to collect that tax return that 2019. So it would be in your best interest to prepare it and have it ready and, do it. But if you don't have it, wonderful news, every listener, it's not the end of the world. You still have a chance. When it comes to that's the PPP loan, right? When it comes to the EIDL loan, typically you do have to have your tax return completed because that's how they determine the loan decision. There's something called a 4506T involved. It's when you collect your transcript. And I've been working in, like I said, small business lending world for the last decade, and 90+% of the time somebody fills it out wrong. It just happens. It's unfortunate, but it literally does. Even me, when I used to collect loan packets and submit them for clients, sometimes they would get declined. And 4506T can be tricky. You got to look at it closely, but it's important to check all the right boxes and get some assistance from a local SBDC advisor.
That's called a 45 what?
4506T.
06T.
It's available on the SBA.gov website. Okay. Here's another thing, right? Theoretically, if you go to SBA.gov, you should be able to click the latest and the updated one, but sometimes you have to just find the right link. It's a government website. What do you want me to say?
Gentlemen, I can't tell you how much fun I'm having. We want to have more fun. I wanted to ask Dan, Mr. Sandhu gives us a very rosy accounting of businesses being able to get this money. I did not say rose-colored glasses. I said rosy. Okay.
Hey, check this out, Aaron. Sorry to interrupt. I know it's your show. I apologize. But I think this is a good transition. So one of my big beliefs in business is, it's controversial, but it's one of my takes, is that you don't have a business until you have customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So many times we need to focus on our customers, our products, and bringing money in. Yeah, there's going to be some government resources. Yeah, there's some things out there, but you got to start with yourself. The programs are going to be over soon. How do you get your business to where you want it to be in? That's why Dan is such a great educator and an instructor, and I think he can touch on some of the things that he does, and he could provide and help some of these Florin Square residents.
Wait. See, Pavan, wait. Hold on now. I went there before, and he just threw it back. So, You
He
know,
knew it was important to touch on these things. He knows Dan, what Dan's the man because he knows what the people want. And,
okay,
the people want to get
okay.
understanding on some of these government programs, these government things that are going on. The crazy thing is they have webinars. There's so many people and resources right now available that are giving this information available. But right, we know, Dan, right? Just because the information is there doesn't mean you're going to act or do, and it's important to take steps and hold yourself accountable to push it forward and see what you can do. Don't just throw your hands in the air and say it's difficult, I can't do it. It takes some effort, Aaron, and you call it covered glasses, rose colored glasses, but I call it putting in the work.
Okay,
I call it putting in the work, Dan.
Okay, but yeah, I agree with Mr. Sandhu. In fact, that's how I came to you when I said money is not the reason why businesses fail. Okay, I mean, I threw that at you, right? And so, what my thoughts is, being in the business for well over 30 years, in terms of small business consulting. In fact, I think, Dan, you probably know that I was the one instrumental in putting in the Franklin Business Information Center. You guys remember back in the day, there were the BICs. Do you remember that? Yes. Well, I was instrumental in putting together one of the first ones. I think maybe even the first one in the Sacramento County through the Franklin Career Center. That's how important I knew that business and information was to business. And so now here you are, and again, I agree with Ms. Sandhu. We need to know how we can access you and what you have in your brain so that we can be successful even without the grants. You look at Mr. Donaldson, okay? I remember when this building was owned by a conglomeration of people, okay? I think maybe 4, 5, 6 people. And now Tom is doing it by himself. Yeah, he has help, but he started this thing by himself. He's maintaining it by himself. That takes business development sense, as he says, dealing in godly wisdom, right? Now, so through Dan Casas-Murray, what can you tell us, okay, that's going to help us survive even without the grants and the loans?
Wow. I mean, that's what a question. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot to talk about, right? But at the end of the day, one of the key things, and I would say this is probably one of the top 3 things, one of the top 3 questions to ask when you're looking at your business, you're looking at planning the business or whatever, is how do I sell it? It being that thing of value for which your customers are exchanging currency, right? The value proposition. For me, when I think about business and business models and everything like that, there's really only 3 questions that I want to answer. And that is, number 1 is, can I sell it? Number 2 is, can I make it? And then number 3 is, will it make money? And if I have all those 3 questions, then I'm answering the desirability piece, I'm answering the feasibility piece, the viability piece. And if you look at a business plan, those are actually like the 3 main areas that it covers. So management and operations, okay, that all fits into the can we make it box. Marketing plan, that fits into the can we sell it box. Cash flow and assets and liabilities, profits and loss, that all fits in the will it make money box. All of those things, right? And so I feel like it's a balance, right? So if one of those legs is missing from the model, then it's difficult. And I feel like, when we talk about like high failure rates of small business and just business in general. I mean, I think you can mostly take a look at it and say, okay, well, what was the main issue? Was it that, the production wasn't making sense? Was it that it wasn't making money or making a profit? Or was it that there were no customers? Now, for me personally, my experience after, let's see, only 3 successes and a lot more fails, probably about 5 to 7 fails, is that can we sell it question. Mm-hmm. That desirability. There's a saying, and that's revenues solve many, many problems, if not all of them. Many problems, because there's always other problems. But for me, it's that question, and it's the toughest question for me to answer, which is, where are the customers? How do I get more? And how do I convince them that what I have is of value? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest thing for me. Now, if somebody asks me like, okay, Dan, that sounds awesome and that sounds great, but like, how do I get customers? I have dedicated the last like 3 or 4 years of my brain's life to trying to answer that. And I think I have a system that helps me do that. It's very simple, and it consists of basically 3 things that I want to know. When I'm looking at a customer, it's the person that I want to serve, right? It's the person that, I'm passionate about serving. And I see them and I'm like, okay, well, you're trying to do something. You have an objective, right? Like if it's no matter who they are, they're trying to get from point A to point B as your customer, right? They need something. And if I can understand what that is, then that's only one piece of the puzzle. The second piece is I need to know, well, what problems are they having actually achieving that? And the third thing is, well, how does that make them feel? If I have like all those 3 questions like dialed in and answered, and I know for sure, then I have a really great foundation for helping me understand how to get customers. So anyways, that was probably a long way of answering your question, Aaron.
No, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. It made sense. And that's good. Kelly, did you have anything to share? Ask these fine young men.
I wrote down a question of how can a candidate be successful in their application for assistance, but based on everything that Mr. Sandhu provided and Dan provided, the information is there. We do have to go after it. And then also they're going to be successful through, asking the questions they need to ask, to get the answers they need. So the information they provided basically answered the question.
Yes. And I sent a chat to everyone asking you to please share your information via chat. This is the information that I will get out to our audience through the magic of social media. Mr. Pavan, first of all, I hope you do not think that I believe that any of the information that you shared hasn't been useful. I am so grateful that you are here and you shared that stuff with us. So thank you very much. As we close, I was wondering if I can get last words. So last words from you, sir, and last words from Dan, last words from Kelly, and last words from Tom. So Mr. Sandhu, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my last words is there's a message out there to people is, hey, there's help out there. There's some small business relief available. If you're willing to look and put in some time, you can make this happen. It's not too complicated, but there's help out there, and we're here to help. Take advantage of these loan programs. It's one way to look at it is, a big headline. It's, hey, it's free money. Sometimes it is free money. Sometimes it's a really great loan. If you need some assistance in your business and you think it can help you, please reach out. But as you've seen from the conversation and the rest of the show, it's, hey, that's just one small aspect of your business. If you're qualified, take advantage of it. It's the hot topic these days. It's coming, but soon enough, the pandemic will be over, and let's focus on your business. And that's some of the stuff that we'll be able to do with the SBDC. And Dan, our great educator, has some great programs and different things that we could share with your guys' organization, and we'll work on some strategies of connecting with each other.
Thank you. And Dan, I just want to make sure that whenever we say your name, are we required to include the great educator?
No, you could just say Dan, the dude with the ponytail. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Just some guy.
Okay. Well then, Dan, the dude with the ponytail, who just happens to be the great educator, would you happen to have some last words, please?
Yes. So I'm really interested in seeing what we can do to get some of the information out there, maybe a more streamlined way, so that we can help the community there at Florin Square. I think that is so important that we do that. So that's number one. And then number two, how do we do that? Well, I will be in contact with you, Mr. Boyce, about how we can get something together. And in the meantime, if folks don't want to wait for that, you can to get started with the Small Business Development Center as a client, you can email SBDC at metrochamber.org, or you can call 916-319-4268. So if you call there, you'll get an answering message, right? But if you leave your number there, you'll definitely get a call back. And if you send an email to sbdc at metrochamber.org, basically that's the entry point for right now. Now, if you don't want to talk to anybody, that's cool too. All you have to do is go to capitalregionsbdc.com and you can sign up for services there.
All right, wonderful. And by the way, folks, I know Dan not for years and years, but I know him long enough to know that he's a good guy. He cares, and as I told you before, we were going to do some great and wonderful things pre-COVID. Well, let's see if we can do great and wonderful things again, just a little bit scaled down, right? Okay, all right. Mr. Donaldson, any last words?
I'm really encouraged because of I call it like the perfect storm. The perfect storm for me is the fact that the virus is winding down, and we have $1.9 trillion worth hopefully coming into the economy, and the summer is coming back. So I see everything coming up roses within the next couple of months. So most small businesses have to do is continue to hold on till June, and the natural swing of things will bring us all a more favorable picture. Period. So we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're going to get there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And my co-host for the day, I'm so happy that she said that she's happy that she accepted my invitation. I'm delighted that she accepted my invitation, Miss Kelly Love. Well, first of all, did you have fun?
Definitely. Looking forward to the next one.
Oh, good. All right. And second of all, do you have any last words?
Yes, just want to encourage everyone that is listening to the podcast to, continue to be encouraged in your endeavors, to know that there is, based on the information provided, there is help available. Be aware of what's available, from deadlines to the applications you need to make your business grow. and continue to reach out for help. So definitely a good podcast full of information.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as for me, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you grow, the more you're able to do everything that you need to do. I've always been an advocate of the fact that money is a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool like a fork and a hammer. It's a very important tool, but still a tool. And those who are destined to succeed are those who seek out the information necessary to succeed. And so, yes, they're talking to Mr. Sandhu because money is important, but you're talking to Mr. Casas-Murray because information is key. And if you're going to be successful, let's put equal strength into both of those entities, and not just, as my mama said, put my eggs in one basket, because that's never, ever a good idea. And with that, we want to thank you so much for listening to the Florin Square Biz Podcast, official podcast of Florin Square, Sacramento's Black Wall Street. I am your host, Aaron Boyce, with my lovely host,
Kelly Love.
All right. And we thank you so much for your time. We thank Mr. Casas-Murray, and we thank Mr. Pavan Sandhu. Until we meet again, I bid you peace, love, and
Florin Square, where culture meets
soul,
business.
people, soul. Come on now, stick with me.
Florin Square,
All right,
where culture meets
peace,
business.
and we are out.